beloved community. Whenever we move houses, whether it is to the other side of town or just down the street or to the other side of the world, we can't do it halfway. You have to decide which items that you need to take, what things need to be packed in a particular way or extra carefully, and all of the logistics and emotional processing of leaving one place and moving into another. And most people that I talk to who have just moved say something along the lines of, I swear this is the last time that I am moving, or I hope I never have to move again, because it's a lot. It takes so much of us. And some people hire movers to store their belongings, transport them, and then unpack their many belongings in the new location. Others have to leave their homes in such a hurry because they are in danger, and there is no time to take hardly anything, if anything, or plan the logistics. Our immigrant, refugee, and asylum-seeking neighbors know this too well. In each circumstance, moving houses affects most aspects of our life, if not all, and takes a lot of faith for us to do. In our text for today, God calls Abram and Sarai to move. And our text tells us that at this time in Abram's life, he was 75 years old. And God called him saying, leave your country, your relatives, your father's house, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and you will be a blessing to others. Accepting and believing in this promise from God required the kind of faith that it takes to move from one country to another. And if we follow the story of Abram and Sarai throughout the book of Genesis, we note that this call to make this big move at their age with their whole family and all of their belongings was just one of many calls that God gave them in their lives. Afterward, they had to have the faith that it was even possible for God to give them the possibility of having a child. And in this process of so many calls from God, leaning into their faith transformed them so much so that even their names changed along the journey, becoming Abraham and Sarah. At each step of the way, God gave a new invitation to follow God further into the unknown. And that is what the life of a disciple is like. Every move, whether that is a literal move from one place to the next or a metaphorical or figurative move, shifting one's perspective or approach from one over to another, leaving certain things behind to make room for new things, entering into a new understanding of who you are. Every move in our lives comes with an invitation to follow God further into the unknown. And the unknown isn't always such an exciting thing. Sometimes the unknown is so great that it causes us to feel great fear or worry. Sometimes the unknown causes us to doubt ourselves or others, or to doubt God. Sometimes the unknown overwhelms us so much that we're sort of frozen or unable to move. We feel perhaps frozen or shut down. And there are so many overwhelming things in our world right now. This weekend, the United States, together with the Israeli military, bombed Iran, killing their country's supreme leader as well as many other civilians in Iran. In a statement released by the Lutheran World Federation, it says, the Lutheran World Federation calls on all parties involved to exercise maximum restraint and to abide by international humanitarian law, the direct and indirect impact on civilians and communities, most of whom were already experiencing the dire consequences of instability, will be catastrophic, including the loss of life. LWF advocates for peaceful means of resolving conflicts and urgently calls for renewed efforts from the international community to seek lasting peace in the region. LWF prays for and stands in solidarity with all the affected communities that are living in fear. There are so many unknowns from this unfolding situation in our world right now. This week, the state of Kansas passed a bill that significantly restricts the rights of transgender people by invalidating their existing documents, including their driver's license, effective immediately, banning future gender marker changes and enforcing many restrictions, particularly around the use of bathrooms that include fines and the possibility to sue a trans person for using a certain bathroom. Our immigrant siblings continue to live in the fear of the unknown with targeted operations that are detaining immigrants, as well as many citizens of the United States, most of whom are people of color. The humanitarian crisis in the Holy Land is ongoing. Our planet continues to experience climate crisis, and weather continues to be more harsh and unpredictable. And then you add in all of the unknowns of our personal lives. The unknowns about our physical health, our bodies, the unknowns that might be arising related to our mental health, or our relationships, or our finances, or perhaps the direction of our life, or the meaning that we are finding or struggling to find in this life. And at some point, when facing so many unknowns, we may even lose our faith and act in ways that hurt ourselves or others or break relationships. Let us remember that our God gives us loving compassion and paths to restoration, not only for ourselves in these circumstances, but also for any who we may have harmed. Our God can make a way out of no way. Our God delivered people in enslavement and led them into freedom so they might have liberation. Our God has accompanied people as they wander for 40 years in the wilderness. Our God of love. Our 2026 community star word, love. Our God of love. Love that is more powerful than hate. Our God of love continues to call us to things that involve moving to and moving through the unknown. Our God calls us to a way of resurrection, a way where new life emerges and new possibilities bloom, even when no one imagined that new life could possibly rise from those circumstances. When we follow God into the unknown, we find grace, we find healing, goodness, and an abundance that Jesus shares with God's beloveds, gifts we could have never imagined. And I have a few questions I would like to pose to you to perhaps ponder from where you are. When was a time in the story of your life so far when God called you to follow God into the unknown? What was that unknown? And what was that experience like for you? When was a time in the story of your life story so far when God called you to follow God into the unknown? What was that unknown? And what was that experience like for you? And another question I'd invite you to ponder and perhaps reflect on, or if you feel comfortable sharing with somebody who might be with you or somebody who's close to you. I wonder, who in the community around you faces the unknown? And how might we be called to assist them or support them or share our faith with them? Who in the community around us faces the unknown? And how might we be called as individuals, our families, our neighbors, or as a whole community? How might we be called by God to support those facing the unknown and to share faith with them? Answering any call from God involves entering into the unknown with all of our heart. Again, answering any call from God involves entering into the unknown with all of our heart. God calls us to go all in for the unknown. And God goes with us into that unknown every step of the way. God goes with us to the unknown and through the unknown. God stays with us. And in the unknown is sort of where our faith lives and thrives and becomes a part of our life. We have faith. We say that we are people of faith. And we have the name Faith Lutheran. We gather to worship God with our faith community. And as an expression of our faith, we are sent from this space of worship to live out our faith. And our faith lives in the unknown places, in those spaces of unknown along the story of our lives. And it is our faith that sustains us in those moments. It is our faith that moves us along. And it is our faith that helps us to go from those moments of feeling frozen into action, faithful action that helps us to make those important moves in our lives. Answering God's call even when it will require vulnerability and risk and the uncomfortable feeling of the unknown, and to enter unknown with all of our heart. I invite us at this time to take some breaths together as we'll do a breath prayer. I invite you to get comfortable wherever you might be. You might want to close your eyes or keep them open. I invite you to find a comfortable space. And at this time, I invite you to breathe in and breathe out. Inhale, God calls us. Exhale, one faithful step at a time. Inhale, God calls us. Exhale, one faithful step at a time. Inhale, God calls us. Exhale, one faithful step at a time.